Hey everybody, welcome back to Inside the Force. Dave Cottingham here with my two co-hosts here, Hannah Burr. Good evening, Hannah.
Good evening.
And Cyber Wren. How are you, sir?
Doing all right. How are you guys?
Both of you actually back from a little holiday vacation, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, not me. I've been working this past couple of weeks.
I was just a weekend getaway, so yeah.
Oh, yeah. But you had to get your jet ski out in the lake, right?
Had to give it a run. Yep. Clean out the winter funk.
Yes.
Yeah.
What is the temperature up there right now?
We're in our summer temperature. We're sitting around 28 to 30 degrees Celsius. I don't know.
He says Celsius, Hannah.
I don't know what that is.
I
Fahrenheit.
was about to say, okay, Google, what is that?
All right. It's probably not as warm as what you guys get. Let me just check.
We're kind of mid.
82.
Oh, okay. So we're about the same. We're kind of mid 80s right now.
Yeah,
too.
80, 85, 86 on our warmer days.
Oh,
So,
wow. Okay. Yeah.
yeah, there you go.
It's pretty warm. I mean, we're getting that. I think we got a big one coming. Like we're gonna hit 90 or so here coming next week. But yeah. Thanks everybody for joining us. Of course, Hannah being out and Martin being out. I didn't actually do a show last week. I was gonna do one by myself, but I thought, you know what, I'll wait it out because got a lot more news to talk about this week as well. And we're going to continue talking a little bit more about the Jedi Order. We're theming July out a little bit. We had a great discussion a couple weeks ago, and we got some comments that Martin actually had from it that I'm glad he's here for because he's going to have
No.
He's going to have to back those up.
Yeah, put me on the hot seat for those, eh?
Yeah.
Defend your words.
That's right. That's right. But while we were gone, let's talk about it first. Brand new trailer for Ahsoka dropped.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and we are less than a month. We're about a month away from the premiere, which is going to be a 2-episode premiere now on August 23rd. In fact, I had a picture that I downloaded that laid out the episodes. So you got episodes 1 and 2 on August 23rd, and then you got one episode every week, the 30th, September 6th, the 13th, the 20th, September 27th, and then the series will wrap with the 8th episode on October 4th.
That's going to go by fast.
It's going to go by fast.
Yeah.
7 weeks, basically, instead of 8. So 2-episode premiere coming August 23rd. So trailer, which shows obviously a whole lot of footage, a lot more dialogue. We get our first look at Thrawn. Hannah, I'll let you go first. What was your overall thoughts about the trailer?
I feel like it makes us very excited to watch it. I also think it raises a lot more questions that we will hope to have the answers to. For example, I was like, wait, Ahsoka actually is training? What's going on here? And then finding out they're not Jedi, but the people with the orange lightsabers, they're not Jedi, but they're also not Sith. It's like, okay, well then what are you? Because you're clearly wielding some sort of force power here. And then we get our first look at Thrawn, true look at Thrawn. Looks pretty incredible. Like the trailer threw a lot at us, but it also left us wanting more, I feel like, in the sense of a lot of hooks, depending on who you're a fan of, what storyline you're into, what lore you want to dive into, whatever it may be. I just think it was a very brilliantly made trailer.
Okay.
But
Nice.
I might change my mind as soon as we see the show, because I believe a trailer should not give everything away. I don't feel like it did,
here. Yeah.
but it might have. Guess we'll find out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Martin, what do you think?
Well, I'm with you, Hannah. I hate when trailers give away too much. And I don't know if this one did, because watching this new trailer, I walked away going, what's the direction of this show? I have no idea where the story's going. I don't know what Ahsoka's path is, where she's headed. I can't tell if they're going to go look for Ezra, if she's only after stopping Thrawn. I really don't know what's going on. So that was my biggest question, is what is the direction of the show? And I think they meant to do that. They don't want us to know too much. They want to surprise us. Star Wars has been pretty good with their trailers with not giving away too much. I'm sure there's a lot more. And quite often what we've discussed on Mandalore too is these trailers we get, most of the footage, 80% of the footage is from the first couple episodes. And then we have no idea what's coming. So, but I'm with you. Like those guys with the orange lightsabers, he seems pretty angry when he's saying, "We are not Jedi." And then right from that phrase, he's stabbing some innocent people right through with the lightsaber. So he obviously doesn't care about life or people that cannot defend themselves. He's just killing them. And seeing Thrawn for the first time, like, man, what is that, Lars Mikkelsen? He looks wickedly evil. Like, he just has this face that looks evil. And now they painted him blue. So I wonder if that's all makeup or if that's CGI. Well, I wonder what they did to make him blue. But yeah, and then Hera's obviously, she's arguing for something with the council there with whatchamacallit's character. Like you see the council and she's arguing with them about something like, I need your help. Like if you want to prove yourselves, you need to stand up for what's right and fight. So this show maybe has 3 storylines going through it. I don't know.
Now, that's a good point because I think, for one, I was really floored by the recreation of some of these shots that we know were pulled from the animation, like the shots of Lothal. Like, I mean, it's flawless how Lothal, the shot where Ahsoka's ship is flying in and Lothal's in the background, and then the shot where Sabine's on that speeder down that kind of like freeway thing that we've seen in Rebels. It's identical. It's not one of them things where, you just translate it from what animation may look like. It's pretty identical from the show, which is pretty awesome. And of course, I kind of questioned, okay, at the end of Rebels, when we see the flash forward, Sabine's got short hair. Are we going to get that? We get that in the trailer. So it is going to line up really well with how he finished Rebels. Side note, just so I'm sure some people know this, but I was at Target or somewhere, and I feel like Lego spoils things sometimes because there's Lego sets that come out, and you're like, wait a minute, where's that ship from, or where's that person from?
Yeah.
Well, one of the sets, and I couldn't even remember, I think it was the Phantom, the ship that Hera's flying around in. But there's the little Lego character in there is Jason Sindola.
Oh.
Which is their son, right?
Yeah.
What?
Hera and Kanan's son that we see again in that flash forward shot at the end of Rebels. So it's kind of been a question of whether or not he's going to show up in this. I think that kind of answers it. I think Jason Sindola is going to be in Ahsoka at some point.
Well, they've said that a lot. If you follow social media, Lego always spoils things.
Yes.
And I don't think they should be allowed to release the toys before the show has come out. Like, why would you do that anyway? Why are you trying to sell a toy about something that nobody's seen yet? It doesn't even make sense marketing-wise to me. But this is one of many times that they've given away something.
Yeah.
And fans are upset about it.
Yeah, I haven't seen really anybody mention I've seen a couple tweets where they mentioned, is Jason Solo going to show up? But I haven't seen anything posted like, wait a minute, there's a Lego set that has Jason Sindola in it, whatever. So I keep saying Jason Solo because there is a Jason Solo in the EU.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway, I'm with you. I think what this trailer clearly shows, and I agree with you, Martin. I think there's definitely questions about whether or not Ezra is the storyline, whether or not Thrawn is the storyline. Mm-hmm. I think Ezra, unfortunately, is going to kind of be the later storyline. I have a feeling I don't know if he's going to show up in this series actually, except what we've heard and see with him in that recording.
Yeah.
Because or he may show up like in the movie when Filoni gets to the movie finally or something like that. But this, to me, what this is clearly telling us is this, even though it's called Ahsoka, this story, I think, is about Ahsoka, Sabine, and Hera, and these three women, these three heroes of the rebellion, kind of the backseat of the rebellion in a sense, are now kind of leading this charge of fighting in this threat that's coming to the Republic, the new Republic now. So that's why I feel like we got a lot of Hera in this. We got a lot more about Sabine and kind of what she's been going through, how she's been dealing with this Ezra going missing. And then of course Ahsoka with a little bit of her struggles about walking away from her and doing whatever. We kind of still don't really know what she's been doing this whole time. I mean, we still haven't gotten a single story of her during the original trilogy, right? From A New Hope to Return of the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know where she was during that time because she obviously didn't fight in the rebellion. But ever since she left Rebels or died in Rebels and then kind of came back till the time we see her in The Mandalorian, like that's about 10 years. We don't know what she's been doing. So I hope we kind of get that information. But I don't know. It sounds like she's regretting some things. It sounds like she's, upset that she missed out on some things or turned her back on her friends and things like that. So it's interesting because if this takes place after The Mandalorian, which I think it does, and that whole encounter with Luke, she felt like in a better spot then than she does actually in this. So I hope the timelines match. I hope the feeling of the character matches. But anyway, that's kind of what I got out of it.
Well, it could be that her time with Luke helped her come to these conclusions that, you know what, I need to make amends. I need to patch things up with my friends. I need to get back in the fight and help them. It could be that her time with Luke and helping Grogu and stuff, that may have sparked all of this.
Right.
Especially with her training Sabine again.
Yeah.
Which, training Sabine, what?
I know.
Seriously.
No, but it looks, I think it looks fantastic. I think the cinematography of it looks fantastic. I don't know. I'm excited. She's by far been one of my favorite characters these last few years. So looking forward to it for sure.
Yeah, totally.
And I'm assuming we're gonna do a big trailer breakdown on The Mandalore, right?
We will. Yep. We just got to decide on time with holidays and stuff happening. We'll figure out.
That's right.
Yep.
So to me, I think that's all we're gonna get. I don't think we're gonna get any more trailers and whatnot till this thing premieres. So there'll be a bunch of like little clips and stuff and things like that. But But looking forward to it. Which let's go ahead and get into the kind of the news that may even possibly affect Ahsoka.
Yeah.
Because we know it's actually affecting another show, Andor, that's in the middle of shooting. But the writer's strike has been going on for a few months.
Yeah.
And now the actor's strike has started.
In support of the writers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think are they doing that, or is their contract up too?
From what I saw out there, I think a lot of them are striking to support the writers. They're like, you know what? If you're not going to pay the writers what they deserve, we're not going to work either until you fix this.
SAG-AFTRA is also they're also striking their own.
Yeah, I think they're actually on strike because they're afraid of the whole AI stuff that's coming out, and they're trying to protect their likenesses.
Studios are saying that they're going to have the ability to just scan you and pay you $100 for it, and now they can use you as a background person at any point.
That's right.
And then also there are a couple of other rules that they're not willing to go on. Like, for example, paying them late. They're like, yeah, but that's kind of life. Others are like giving them meal breaks, making sure they work not long days and, have a healthy like there are a lot of things. currently in the contract that they're not willing to budge on. So SAG is saying, all right, fine, we're striking too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny you bring that up because listening to Michael Rosenbaum's Inside of You podcast, where he interviews and talks to a lot of the actors, the last few episodes, they've been talking about that, about their long, crazy hours that they're working. Like they'll work 6-7 days a week, 10, 11, 12-hour days. And sometimes they'll work 10-hour days, go back to their trailer, get a half an hour break, and they got to go out and work all night because it's a night shoot for a night scene.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just they're working so many days a week on 3-4 hours of sleep, and it just keeps going and going and going because their contract says they have to do it, and because the production studios are saying we need this done by a specific time, so they're under the wire. And and I know there's a lot of fans out there that don't understand. They quit whining, you're making millions of dollars, whatever, it's what you're paid to do. I'm like, yeah, but put yourself in their shoes, or imagine yourself in your job, whether you have a desk job or you have a warehouse job, whatever you do. You try working 12-hour days, 7 days straight, never getting a break. Let's see how you feel after. Work is work. So I'm in support of them too. Imagine the amount of makeup and everything they have to do if you've only slept 3 hours a night for 7 days straight and you need to look good on camera. Gosh, how do you do that?
Well, also keep in mind, a lot of them aren't necessarily the leads. I mean, the number of celebrities making millions of dollars is like what, the 1%?
Oh, it's less than 1%. Yeah.
Less than 1%. Everyone else is lucky that they're making enough to just survive, making enough to just pay rent, pay the bills. Yeah. I think in order to qualify for health insurance, you have to make, it's either 24 or 26K. A lot of actors can't do that because, it's a very competitive world and not enough jobs are paying that amount of money. So, it's a lot. It's.
Yeah. And the SAG, the actors, it seems like every 15, 20 years this happens where, the industry has changed. That's really what they're trying to do, is just adjust for the industry. They don't want to lose out on work because of other means like AI or things like that may disrupt their lifestyle. And, productions have changed where there's a lot of, CG or on set or on studio kind of shoots versus location shoots, not a lot of travel. And so the industry changes and you have to try to fight for, what's best for the lifestyle of that industry. I will say, that I will say that I get confused a little bit because there is on one aspect of it, kind of what you were just saying, Martin, when you work for a SAG, a union job, right? When you're a SAG actor and you're working on a union job, that's the purpose of the union, to protect their people.
Yeah.
So if they're being overworked, then in my opinion, the union is not doing their job, because they should be on set saying, these people need breaks, or it's time to wrap this up. Because I've actually worked on a couple union jobs in New York a few years ago, and I remember I was the one responsible by SAG to give the actors breaks. And if I did not give them breaks, we were going to be penalized. So, if they're not policing that, then the union right there is flawed, and they need to do better for their people. Now, because crews are the same way. As much as actors work 10, 12 hours a day, that means the crew is actually putting in 16 hours a day.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And they got their own unions that are trying to protect them as well, and they ain't making nothing like the actors are making. So, I am sensitive, yes, to the actors, but I'm actually more sensitive to the crews, because that is hard work.
Hey, we all been there, yeah. We've all been crew on film sets.
Yeah, and they're not sleeping at all.
No, you're there 2 hours before everybody, and you're there 2 hours after everybody.
Yes.
Yep.
Jeez, I mean, Hollywood's already essentially shutting down between the writers and the actors. Imagine when the crews start saying, "Yeah, enough's enough."
I know it, man. I know it.
Well, I mean, really, one of the easy answers to solve at least a big chunk of it is to, instead of saying we're making a movie and it needs to be done in 2 months, stretch out the filming time. So what if it takes you 4 or 5 months to make the movie? That way everybody gets the sufficient rest and you can get a better product out of them. Why do they have to crunch them down and force them to get it done so quickly? Just spread it out a little bit.
Well, creatives need a great deadline.
Yeah, it's just an industry thing where you're trying to hit market at a certain time, and I don't know. Yeah, every artist, especially a director, wants as much time as they can. But I mean, that's why guys like George went on his own. He didn't want to follow the studio rules. He wanted to take his time. He wanted to control it, and that's what happens when you work for other people. You're kind of tied to their rules, their deadlines, and things like that. And that's why most of these guys go out and start their own production companies and eventually start their own studios. And Spielberg, Lucas. So I hope what doesn't happen too much, even though we understand what the actors and what the writers, and ultimately we just talked about a little bit of what the crew, eventually if they start striking, how much this is affecting Hollywood. Of course, the movie releases. I mean, there are movies also that I have heard that are not going to release and support. Actually, I shouldn't say that. There are actors that aren't going to support or advertise their movies because they're in support of what's happening with the strike. And it sounds like that's already trickling into Star Wars. Andor is now reporting, there's reports out there that Andor has halted production. Even though they're close to wrapping filming, they have stopped filming due to the support for the strike. So, because their writers have already finished completion of that, so they were still shooting even though the writer strike was going on. But now that the actors are striking, they're stopping. So, do any of you at all foresee that? I mean, since it's all done, I don't think so. But do you at all see this affecting Ahsoka? Do you think at all that there's a possibility that the actors don't support the release of it and or go out there and start advertising for this thing because they want to wait? Hannah, you're shaking your head. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe that. I mean, the actors who were in what's the name of that movie?
Oppenheimer.
Yep. Oppenheimer.
Yeah, they walked out.
They walked out during the premiere. So that doesn't surprise me at all. And I think part of the strike is if you're part of the strike, you're actually not supposed to support the projects that you've performed in. Like that straight up, you're supposed to not do that. You don't go to red carpet events. You don't go to premiere events, anything like that. So yeah, I totally believe. Now, I think they've done enough advertising before this point that it won't necessarily affect viewership that much. But people who are in support of the SAG and writer strike, they are asking people, what do we do? Do we just cancel our subscriptions? Do we just stop watching? Like, what do we do to show support for you? So I don't know if it's going to get to that point. It might. So it might impact. Actors and writers might start saying, start canceling your subscriptions because they're just not listening. And I think that would hugely impact everything. But I think that might be more of a worst case scenario situation, but you never know. You never know. We might get to that point where they're asking people to do that. So that's where I think it would affect it greatly. Advertisement wise, and actors and writers saying, I worked on this, make sure you tune in. They've already done enough advertising for this that I don't think that's going to be that big of a dent.
Plus, I think there's probably something legally binding that because Ahsoka's completed and nobody has to go back and do reshoots or retakes, I don't think anybody can stop it from airing. It's set to
Right.
air on the 23rd. I think it has to go. I think because of it being completed project, it can't be interfered with somehow.
Yeah. It's just unfortunate if we don't see any actors pushing it or interviews with Filoni, and it's unfortunate that they're not going to be able to celebrate the premiere. And I get it if they're doing what they need to do with the strike, but
yeah,
I haven't heard of if they plan on having a red carpet premiere like they did with Andor and Obi-Wan and things like that, it seems like no one's going to show up if they do it.
Yeah.
What they might do is they might ask Disney cast members to dress up like the characters and have the characters show up.
They may.
There are rumors that Disney actually is going to do that for their red carpet events.
Oh, really?
Don't know if it's true. It could be entirely false.
Yeah.
But I heard a rumor that that's how Disney plans to still have red carpet events.
Oh, interesting. Okay. During the strikes, you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once again, don't know if it's true, but.
Right.
I think where I'm concerned is how long is this going to go on for, and how's it going to affect things going forward? Because we've already heard in the news that Disney has put a stop to a lot of the Marvel projects, and they pulled them. We're not releasing them anymore. What that does to Marvel, what does to Star Wars? Like, is Skeleton Crew now going to be pushed way back? Mandalorian season 4 might not ever come. Like, the Star Wars movies that we're already waiting a long time for are going to be pushed back even farther. Like, this is going to affect everything.
Well, that's a good point, because Bob Iger also has come out and talked about that. He's the CEO of Disney, has come out and said that they are going to be pulling back on content for Star Wars and for Marvel.
Yeah.
He's even gone on record saying that Marvel, he feels like Marvel actually made the mistake of putting too much out there, on Disney Plus. And I think he's kind of leaning that way towards Star Wars as well.
Yeah.
So not only are we not probably going to get as many Star Wars series as we want on Disney Plus, but yes, due to the strikes, I do think that the movies are going to be delayed more.
And I think the lack of success is affecting that too, because they just released that animated movie Elemental pretty much bombed right alongside The Flash. It just bombed big time. Indiana Jones did not do that well. It's struggling, which is a surprise. And Bob Iger was saying, "Whoa, I expected way more out of that."
So that's what's going on, really. Strike and revenue and all that stuff for these companies is really changing kind of the landscape of what's happening. So who knows what's coming over the next few months.
Yeah.
We're getting Ahsoka, and then we might not have anything for a while.
Jeez.
Yep.
What are we going to podcast about, Vizsla?
I know, right? On the good side, good news, I guess.
Yeah, let's do some good news.
Andor, Obi-Wan, and The Mandalorian have racked up a combined 23 Emmy nominations.
Whoa.
That's amazing.
Yes. Lots of recognition for those series. Hopefully they can win a bunch. But it's pretty good recognition for those.
Nice.
All good series there. And then a couple of actors, I know we're talking about strikes, but a couple of actors that have made some headlines. John Boyega recently has mentioned that he is open to return as Finn.
Awesome.
Which is something he hasn't talked about in a while.
Mm-hmm.
I think means that there's been some discussions probably with him and Daisy a little bit about getting him back in. Hannah, you're not impressed. Doesn't look like.
Their story is done. Like,
yeah.
Unless it's a buddy cop film with him and Poe, then I'll be okay.
I know you've talked about that a lot, but
I know
the Jedi Order is the new Jedi Order is around. If he's around in it, I think that I think at all he's going to be a main character.
Okay, like that's fine. I'm worried that it's going to be another Rey and Finn story.
Yeah, I don't think it can be. Because then at that point you got to call it episode 9. I'm sorry, episode 10. And it's not going to be episode 10.
But
so
with how force sensitive he was showing, I mean, he might have to be around. He might have to be part of her academy. He might, like, they're best buddies. They want to.
Yeah, I think he will be.
You know.
Yeah, so, like being around is fine. Just their story has come to an end. Let's get some new storylines happening.
Yeah. Agreed.
Maybe he's her highest level student and he's helping train.
Yeah, I definitely think that. I definitely think he could be a master. It really depends on, I think, well, they said, I think it's like 15 years since Rise of Skywalker. So, yeah, he definitely could be a master at that point in training.
Yeah. Another
person, Tamara Morrison, as we all know, plays Boba Fett. And hopefully Captain Rex.
And Rex and the clones and
Ahsoka. Hopefully but apparently, there's been a big question lingering out there is, are we done with Boba Fett? Is Boba Fett not going to come back? There was talks that he was a little upset that he didn't get asked to come back for The Mandalorian this last season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But he's out there talking about how he's pushing heavily. He's trying to push Lucasfilm to continue a Boba Fett story. Maybe not the show, but just let's do some more with Boba Fett. Martin, you think that's a good idea?
Yeah, I was hoping for book 2 of Boba Fett. I know it's not the top of the list of everybody's favorite series that they've done, but I still enjoyed it. I still liked watching it. I still loved the story. I loved everything they did with it.
Right.
I want to see more. And Boba Fett's Boba Fett. He's been one of our favorite characters for our entire lives. So if we can continue seeing him in live action, then let's have it. Yeah. Okay. I don't care how.
I'm not sure Hannah even completed the book of Boba Fett. So
no, not yet.
So do you want to see more, even though you haven't seen all of it?
I don't know if I can give a fair answer to this question because I haven't completed it. So I'm
how far did you get?
Like 2 episodes.
Oh man! Yeah. So you didn't even see the 2 Mando episodes, or did you watch those?
No. I know what happens. So part of me is like,
yeah,
but they're still worth watching.
It probably is worth watching because it does have Ahsoka in it, so you might want to just watch it. But
the finale episodes are pretty epic. They're pretty cool.
Yeah, they were okay. They were pretty good. They're pretty good. Anyway, I'm all for. I love Tamara Morrison as a person. Anyway, I think he's fantastic. I love him in almost everything he's done. So,
yeah,
love seeing him at that brief cameo in Obi-Wan when he's that clone on the side of the road. So
yeah,
he definitely could come back and do that again. I think Boba Fett was great. I think we need more of him. I don't know. Does he need to come back in The Mandalorian? I don't know. Maybe he shows up in something else, but his own show, could be another season, but it seemed like he was, kind of turning away from that lifestyle that he tried. But no, I definitely love Boba Fett. In fact, I wouldn't mind seeing, I know it's hard for him to do, but I still would like to go back and see Boba Fett during, between episodes 3 and 4, and more of the whole bounty hunter lifestyle back then, like when Boba Fett was Boba Fett.
Yeah. You'd have to have a younger actor play that part.
Totally, yeah. Totally. But you can get Tamara to be the voice.
Yeah.
If he does happen to take his helmet off, you can just do some de-aging.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. Or use the kid. Who's the kid that played him?
Yeah, Daniel Logan.
Daniel Logan. Use him. Why not?
Could use him. Totally use him. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty much all the news I had run through. So we'll get through some of these releases that are coming out, and then talk a little bit more about the Jedi. In the novels, this past Tuesday, finally, Inquisitor, that Rise of the Red Blade came out. There are reviews out there if you want to go check them out from other people, other podcasts. The one note I will make about this that I've read it really defines, it follows this Inquisitor. I can't remember the name, but it follows this Inquisitor and their journey from Order 66 into the Inquisitorius. And what I read about this article basically is that this book basically finally tells us the process of these former Jedi becoming Inquisitors.
Ooh.
And basically the ultimatum that they are given. Basically, become an Inquisitor or die.
Right.
And so,
wow.
Yeah, so that process is in this book, which I think is pretty phenomenal. So looking forward to getting into that at some point. Return of the Jedi from a Certain Point of View's version of that comes out next month, August 29th. Crimson Climb, the Kira storyline, October 10th. Phase 3 of the High Republic kicks off the Eye of Darkness November 14th. So that's what's coming so far this year. Comics, you got Dr. Aphra 34 that came out just now. Darth Vader, Black, White, and Red, number 4 is next week, along with The Mandalorian, season 2, number 2. And then the first week of August, you've got Yoda, number 10, and then a new comic series that's starting called Dark Droids, number 1.
Oh.
Yeah, so don't know what that's about. I haven't actually heard about that one yet, so I got to read up on what that's going to be about.
What's the Yoda series like? You obviously are reading that. He's your guy.
I read the first couple issues. I haven't finished. I haven't gone into any more than that. But
is it prequel stories? When does it take place?
It kind of. Well, it's actually been a while now, but no, it was definitely prequel, and I think what I've seen a little bit of is that it kind of bounces around. So there's 2 arcs. Like, this is the second arc, so the first 5 issues or so, or the first arc. So I believe it bounces around, but I haven't gotten into it because I've seen characters on covers that are different eras, So yeah, but I do need to read it. I do.
Yeah,
my favorite character. I'm not even reading it. It's kind of shameful of me.
Losing your Yoda fan status, man.
I know. I need to read it, and then we got to do some Beyond the Sagas on it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did I buy the first volume? I don't think I have the first volume. I need to get that, actually. I got some other ones I just bought here. But anyway. Okay, let's talk a little bit more on the Jedi stuff as we finish this episode out. A couple weeks ago we talked about the Jedi Order, and if you remember, Hannah, we talked about really, are they flawless? How are they viewed? Martin, we'll get into the comments you had from that episode in a little bit here. But this week I wanted to really focus on a little bit about, of course, how the Jedi get their power, which is from the Force. The original trilogy introduced us to this Force, the Force being this energy field that surrounds all things, binds all things together, and the Jedi tap into that, and that's how they get their power. We get told in the prequels that midichlorians and the blood system is really kind of how you're connected to the Force, and it kind of introduced us to how a range of people can be more powerful than others, because if they have more midichlorians than some, and not everybody can obviously tap into the Force. But the question that I was thinking of as I thought of the dark side of the Force and people that fall to that and people that use that as their power. And Hannah, me and Martin were talking about this before we were recording. You kind of weren't on here yet, but I mentioned what I want to talk about is the Force. Does the Force actually have a dark side, or is it actually the person that's dark? Because part of me is starting to think that I don't see how the Force can be evil in a sense. The Force is the Force. And it's how you use it is the power that you have. And so when someone says use the dark side of the Force, it's like, is there actually a dark side of it, or do you think it's the person?
Not in the sense that like the Force is conscious about it.
No, I don't think that. I don't think that either.
I think it's like the Force is all of these options. And then you, the person, choose what to tap into.
Mm-hmm.
So does the Force have a dark and light side? Yes, they have dark side options, light side options. I mean, Mace Windu could channel dark side options, but he was still considered a Jedi Master, member of the Council. So I think yes, it does depend on the person and what's the person intending. But I do think the Force does have dark and light aspects. The Force provides all these options. It's a conduit. It provides all of these different options. You get to choose what options you want to use and take. That's how I think it is.
Like you're going shopping at the Force store?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Huh. What do you think, Martin?
I'm not sure which side I land on. I see two very distinct ways it can go. Leaning with Hannah's ideas, like you could think of the forces as the yin yang. You can't have all good without some evil. You can't have all evil without some good. It has to be split. That's why they talk about balance all the time. There has to be a balance in the Force. And we've discussed it on our shows before. You get a power like Anakin, who's supposed to be the chosen one. Well, there's got to be a Force that is born to counter him. And is that Grogu? We're not sure. Like there always needs to be an opposing opposite force to balance it out. Otherwise the scale is tipped too far and you have chaos. So that's one way to look at it is this yin yang. It has to balance. The other way is what you touched on. The Force could just be neutral. It is a completely gray zone neutral thing. And it is based on personality. What is part of you? What is deep down on the inner side of you that when you are able to access his power, it starts to sway one way or the other? Does the Force act like some type of amplifier to what's inside you? You might seem all good on the outside, but maybe you're not. Maybe you got some evil thoughts, and that's where you sort of tend towards the dark side kind of thing. So it could be, when they say turn to the dark side, maybe they're just saying, let's tap into those feelings of hate and anger and all that, because that's, the Emperor, he's the great manipulator. He knows how to manipulate those feelings and emotions out of people to get them to use the darker side of emotions. Hate, anger, lust, revenge, all these things, they're dark feelings. So maybe that's all they're referring to. Come to the dark side, focus, because he always says, we've seen him how many times in the movies? Yes, feel your anger, I can feel it. And, and then he just keeps emphasizing that. So it could go either way. And I don't know which way I think it is. If the Force is neutral or if it's positive and negative. Yeah. Black and white.
Yeah. There's two things that put me on both sides as well. One, I think of what I think is George's way of trying to describe the light and the dark was, which I think we will always come back to this, which is the Mortis arc in the Clone Wars, which is where Anakin and Obi-Wan and Ahsoka crash land on, that planet, the planet Mortis, and you see the father, the daughter, and the son, and it's kind of, that's who they are, the light representing and the dark representing. So
yeah.
So that's kind of telling us that there are two sides of the Force, right? There's a dark side and a light side. But then again, I just kind of like what you just said, Martin, I go back to Yoda's teachings more so, where he talks about, even when he talked to Anakin, even when he talked to Luke, it was always like emotion, when he says, when he says Anakin, it says he's afraid to lose his mom. It says fear is the path of the dark side. Fear, anger, leads to anger, leads to suffering. These are dark side emotions and thoughts. So Hannah, kind of what you were saying, you know, when Mace taps into the dark side, you know, for me, it could mean that he's becoming angry, and that's what yields that power. Doesn't mean that the power he pulls from dark power, or he just starts a dark emotion, which allows him, you know. But then again, you know, it's like Luke asks, "Is the dark side more powerful?" To Yoda, you remember? It's dark side, and he says no. Easier, more manipulative. You know, because is it just the emotion of the person that it's easier to feel angry? Is it easier to feel hatred? Is it easier to fear? Because everybody feels that. But Jedi have to do their best to control those emotions in order to stick to the light side of the Force, in a sense, I guess. So, I mean, I feel like they've told us there is a light side, there is a dark side. But I don't know. I feel like part of me is like just the emotions that people feel are light emotions and dark emotions. But is the Force more of a? Is it more just a force that's out there in the galaxy, and people are able to feel it, but they can only feel it by certain emotions, and that is back to the person of how they live their life, how they conduct their emotions. I don't know. So I am truly kind of, I don't know. It's actually an interesting question.
Yeah, totally.
So now we're all confused.
Yeah, because you could look at both sides and find ways to agree with both of them.
Yeah, I think so.
That's the problem. It's
Yeah.
So is this kind of something we need to like talk about later? Because I don't know if any conclusions are made, but
it's so interesting because I think this is still canon, because I know that Knights of the Old Republic introduced the whole idea of the Sith Creed and the Jedi Creed.
Yes. There's definitely creeds.
Yeah. So like looking at both of these creeds, I almost wonder if it kind of gives us an answer. Like the Sith code, or sorry, not creeds, codes. It says through passion. Yeah, through passion I gain strength. Through strength I gain power. Through power I gain victory. Through victory my chains are broken. And the Jedi one is, there is no ignorance, there is knowledge. There is no passion, there is serenity. There is no chaos, there is harmony. There is no death, there is the Force. So just reading those, does that provide an answer right there? If they're still canon. And I think they still are.
They are, because they just came out with books called The Secret of the Jedi, Secret of the Sith, written by the journals from Luke and Palpatine, and they contain the codes in those, what you just read. So they are canon, and I think that's a very good point, because I think what that describes more so is how each faction, Jedi, Sith, what they should believe in and what they should follow, as far as a creed. I mean, it is a creed in a sense, right? Mm-hmm. But it doesn't really mention the Force. Only is mentioned that one time at the end of that Jedi code. So
yes.
Yeah, they're not talking too much about tapping in it. They're not talking really about emotions.
We're losing you, Dave.
Can you say that one more time?
You cut right out there.
I did? Oh.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I was kind of just blabbering a little bit, but
No, I mean, you're right. The only time the Force is mentioned is in the Jedi Code. But you could make an argument and ask if in the Sith Code, when it says "through victory my chains are broken," is that referring to the Force?
Could be. Yes, definitely could be.
But it could also just be meaning you tap into yourself. Like, what path do you want to follow? It's based on you, who you are, what your desires are, what your personality is.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That's the path you're going to follow. But Anakin is a good example to look at because he started out inherently good, and he was good for a long time until Palpatine got his fingernails into him. And then Palpatine manipulated him using emotions to turn him. So, is that a choosing sides thing, or is that changing emotions?
Yeah.
Changing from care and love and passion to hate and anger and revenge. That's the switch that he made.
Yeah,
so,
I think it's definitely, I think emotion is definitely the catalyst of how you feel the Force.
Right.
But if you're angry or fearful, is there I guess the question is like, is there another side of the Force that you only can tap into if you're angry? Or, does that exist? Or is it because you're that emotion that you're able to do things that the Force, are you manipulating the Force in a way because of those emotions? Not that the Force is giving you dark power, right? Because it's very similar in a sense to like the kyber crystals, right? It's canon now that there is no red kyber crystals. There's no dark kyber crystals. Like, you have to bleed the kyber crystal in order to use its power for evil, right? So it's not inherently, there's no evil crystals out there. There's no evil red crystals out there that you have to find in order to use the dark side. Like, you have to bleed the crystal in order to use your emotion of hatred or the essence of the dark side of the Force to wield a red blade. So what were you just, Hannah, thinking? Because you just kind of like lit up.
That's the perfect parallel of how the Sith and Jedi, though, view the Force. Because the Sith view it as, I control it. I take hold of the Force and bend it to my will. Versus the Jedi saying, I let the Force flow through me. It's the Force's will. Which, sorry to harken back to faith, but it's like God's will over man's will and man's will over God's will. So then I guess the question is, if that's what it's supposed to parallel, the idea that, you let the Force flow through you, or you choose to control the Force, which, like, the thing is, though, it's so interesting because when you read the Sith Code, it doesn't seem like a bad thing.
No.
So is the Force truly neutral and you just, you control how you use it? And is it possible to be a Sith and not a bad guy?
Well, I think that's where it comes into, if Sith are driven by power, which is driven by, hatred and fear and making people fearful, then if you're not that, then you're back apparently redeemed, or you're back into the light, I guess, right? So I don't know if you can be Sith and be good, because I think you're just, at that point, you're just redeemed, or you're, I don't know, whatever they call that, came back to the light. Yeah. Well, it's like Quinlan, right? When he fell and then came back. I don't know. It's pretty deep conversation.
My head hurts.
Tough to come up with a definitive answer.
Yeah. Curious what people think out there, and we can revisit this at some point. But I do want to get back to your topic that I keep talking about, Martin, here.
Okay.
From our last episode, because we had a great topic on the Jedi Order that Hannah and I talked about. You said, in quick response, the Jedi are essentially cold. Why would you trust someone who doesn't feel anything? I think without even meaning to, the Skywalkers have changed the Jedi going into the future and what they stand for, represent, and how they will react. Anakin began it with his love and passion for Padme. Then Luke in not giving up on his dad because of his love and belief in him being good. Now Rey continues as she used passion to make herself stronger. The Jedi will change. Anakin, Luke, and Rey all led with emotion, and I think the future is going to be a different Jedi Order using their emotions as guides, feeling what must be done instead of cold calculating what they think is right.
That's such a perfect word.
Hannah,
cold.
what do you think?
That's a perfect, like, that sums it up. That's it in a nutshell. They were cold. That is the perfect word to use.
Yeah, but do you think that was the intent?
I don't think it was necessarily the intent, but it's the result. We don't I don't think they intended to be like these calloused, emotionless robots. Like, I don't think that's what they were trying to do, but that's what ended up happening.
Yeah.
You know where you could draw a correlation is between Star Wars and Star Trek. Jedi are basically Vulcans. They control their emotions, and they come off as being cold.
Oh.
Right? Could. Here's the thing, though. I think that I wonder, and I think we will get this as time goes on. You perfectly describe, Martin, the state of the Skywalkers. What Anakin had done, what Luke had done, what Rey has done. And the Jedi have been around, as we know now. They've been around for 25,000 years.
Yeah.
And we're just now seeing, different versions of them in the High Republic. We're going to get them probably more later on, further back in the Old Republic and things like that. We're going to see what the new Jedi Order is going to look like. But with 25,000 years of history, I got to believe, even in the past 1,000 years, I got to believe that there are other instances, other storylines where Jedi have shown love and passion and compassion similar to what Anakin had done, similar to what Luke had done. There's just too many of the Jedi that have come through that has only happened. Now, of course, this is the only references that we have of it.
Yeah.
But I think we're going to see a little bit more of that at some point throughout history. And I think it's going to be something that we almost learned that maybe that's why the Jedi ended up being flawed, was they didn't give into that emotion or try to make that part of their essential lifestyle and allow them to have that. Now, again, that's what the argument is that compassion and connection could lead more so to that fear of loss and that hatred of losing somebody, so that's what they were. I feel like that's what Yoda was trying to do in the 800 years that he was leading the Jedi, was trying to get them to, I don't think compassion is never against the Jedi code. I mean, they have to care about the lives of the galaxy. That's why they're doing what they do. But it's that connection, that connection is what they forbid. And there's an argument, I think, to be made whether or not that connection could possibly help your life or hurt your life. It just depends on what happens with that connection, because as we've seen, it can definitely cause things to go the wrong way either way.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's what I'm trying to get at, where I'm saying because of Anakin and Luke and Rey, the Jedi code is going to change. They're going to start using their emotion to make better decisions because of the compassion that they have. Because if you look at Luke as the perfect example, everybody told him, Obi-Wan, Yoda, they all told him, your father's lost. There is no more Anakin. He's Vader now. He's turned to the dark side. That is it. And Luke refused to give up on that. And through his love and compassion to get my dad back and save him, he was able to do that. And I think that is really the ultimate spark that he proved through my care and emotion for saving my dad. I was able to turn things around. And Rey tapped into that as well. And I think that's where I'm thinking that, like I was saying, I think the future is going to change because there's legitimate proof that the galaxy has been saved and has been changed because of emotion and never giving up with your feelings.
Yeah.
Because Yoda and Obi-Wan, they're just like, no, done. He's gone. Whatever. So it's very different. And I think that is where Jedi can change a lot in the future.
Yeah.
Like I said, based on their feelings and their emotions, they can make decisions based on how they feel about something, not cold and calculated. What's the right thing to do? Because they can argue it wasn't you. You should never have tried to save your dad. That was a bad idea. Look at the risk you took, and look at how you put all of our lives at stake. But that was that the right thing to do? No, the right thing to do was save my dad, right? So.
Yeah, and you can kind of probably make the argument too that belief, that cold belief in a sense, Yoda and Obi-Wan probably stuck to it the most, and they're the last survivors of of the Order. Yeah. So, I don't know. I think Yoda had it right. I do. That's why I love him so much. I think his intent and the guidance that I think he was trying to pass to all of his Padawans and younglings and things like that. I think he understood what needed to be done. I just don't think everybody had as strong of a belief and of the Force as he did. Some did. I think Mace did. But
it could also be that Padawans and younglings and all that, their brains aren't fully developed yet. So they're too susceptible to giving in to the wrong feelings. So maybe Yoda's trying to put a block on that. Like, don't tap into your emotions until you're old enough, mature enough, and have experience.
Yeah.
To be able to make your own decisions.
But also, Yoda has an advantage of being around for so long, 800 years or so, that he's learned many times from his mistakes, and he's seen so many things. We're not all so lucky to live, or cursed to live that long.
Yeah,
depending on how you look at it.
True.
Yep. Okay, that's a good discussion, I feel like. And Martin, thanks for joining, and thanks for putting that on there. One other comment from our good friend Thrawn Addict on our last episode said, which I know Martin probably doesn't agree with, but he said would love to see a Zack Snyder Star Wars movie. Big fan of his work. 300, Watchmen, Man of Steel, all great movies. I understand he's an acquired taste, but give him one Star Wars movie and see how he gets on. It would be at least very visually stunning. So, couldn't agree more. Zack Snyder for Star Wars.
I think it would be interesting to see what he could do if you give him a solo movie. Don't let him do a trilogy. Let him do a Star Wars story.
Oh, yeah.
Type of feeling. Because give him a darker movie. He likes to do things dark, so let him do something that's Sith related.
Darth Bane.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Yes.
Darth Bane.
Because he likes Darth tapping Bane. Into those dark emotions and seeing where he can go with them. So,
or a Republic and hang out with the Sith Order the whole time. That's fine.
Yeah.
Sith Academy.
Sith Academy. Yeah. Yep, that's right. Okay, I think we've had enough internet problems, enough for this episode. No one probably has seen it because I fixed them all, but had a couple dropouts, unfortunately, during this recording. But hey, Martin, Hannah, thanks for hanging out with me on this episode.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, so go check out InsideTheForce.com. Go watch us on our other shows. Hannah and I with Beyond the Saga. Martin doing some council sessions with me, as well as the Mandalore podcast, where we deep dive in all the Star Wars series. We've got, there it is on his shirt. We've got the Ahsoka trailer that we're going to deep dive into. And, of course, when Ahsoka starts, you'll get us talking, deep diving in there. And then, of course, every week here on Inside the Force.
Yep.
We'll see you back here running through the news and talking more about. We got one more week. We'll talk more about the Jedi a little bit before we get into more Ahsoka discussion as we get closer to the premiere of Ahsoka.
Yeah.
All right, Hannah. See you tomorrow, I'm sure.
See you tomorrow.
Martin, have a good weekend, brother. Talk soon.
You too. We'll talk soon, bud.
Thanks everybody for watching. For
you too, Hannah.
I just was saying, have a great weekend.
Have a great weekend, everybody. Yes, take care. Go watch Ahsoka stuff on the Clone Wars, Rebels. Get caught up, and we'll see you back here next week. Take care. May the Force be with you.